evening, everyone. Such a pleasure to have you all here. Don't our children mean the world to us? We still remember when they held our fingers the first time, how they smelled as little babies, how just holding them was such a comforting feeling. And somehow, when this bond is disturbed right now, you don't feel so good. They're always in their phones, they're probably beginning to answer back, and all that you want is for that bond to be back. That's what we are trying to do here. And of course, your babies are so special to you. So let's try and reconnect. Let's look at what's missing. As we begin today's talk on parenting in the digital age by Dr. Dipali Rao, it is only befitting that you keep your phones on silent mode. We are talking digital parenting in the time of digital time, so let's keep our phones away. Dr. Dipali Rao is a trained clinical and child psychologist, a psychology student from Delhi University. She went on to complete her PhD in clinical psychology from VIMHANS, Bangalore. She has been practicing as a clinical psychologist in Delhi NCR for the last 13 years. Dr. Rao has also been practicing as a child clinical psychotherapist at VIMHANS for the past 10 years. Apart from providing consulting and psychotherapy services for a variety of emotional, behavioral and academic challenges in youth, she trains psychology students in clinical skills as part of postgraduate internship programs at VIMHANS. She has coordinated an interdisciplinary early intervention program for children with autism at the hospital from 2015 to 2018. Our partner for this talk is the Mind Diaries, the first of its kind magazine in India on mental health and well-being. The magazine, which has been running for a year now, aims to create awareness towards mental health and normalizing seeking help. Besides first-person accounts, there are stories of fighting back, there are expert columns, inspirational stories, and more. Before we hand over to our expert, we request you to please keep your questions ready for our question and answer session, slotted for the end of the session. Dr. Rao will also be available for an online interaction tomorrow, the 16th of September at 7 p.m. The links will be shared with you on your registered email IDs. Over to Dr. Rao.
Thank you, Prachi, and good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing this evening? So I'm happy that the weather did not ruin our plans. It was raining very heavily in the morning in some parts of Delhi, NCR. So happy to see all of you here. This topic of parenting, I'm sure, is nothing new to all of you. Whatever stage of life you're in, it's a topic that's widely talked about, and there is a lot of material online and articles written. Even before we had information online available on it, you may have attended talks previously as well. So very likely whatever I'm going to share today as information may not be entirely new to you, but what I'm going to try and do is bring perhaps a psychological perspective and a mental health lens, which might be an additional additionally helpful for you to view some of the concerns as parents that we have in this day and age, right? I'm going to stop at a couple of points in between my talks so that we can sort of just assimilate and digest what we are talking about, and perhaps have a brief interaction, but not too long. We're keeping, as Prachi said, we'll keep a little time for the questions overall towards the end of the talk, about 15-20 minutes. So hold on to your specific questions if something cannot be covered in between when we stop. The time in between is to just introduce you to a few. We'll do a couple of exercises just to kind of elicit certain experiences, thoughts, perhaps stimulate some ideas as we reflect on certain issues. Okay. So to begin with, let me start by broadening the canvas a little bit, zooming out and looking at parenting itself. Okay. I'm sure because all of you may have read something or the other about it, have had life experiences, so you have your own little theories about it, either from experience or from conversations. But it's just to sort of give us a little start, okay, so that we're all on the same page. And it doesn't mean any of your theories are not applicable, but because parenting is not one-dimensional, there are multiple ways of looking at it. But just to kind of define it within a certain framework, broadly it refers to the raising and educating of a child or children, in particular the love, care and guidance you extend towards them as parents, okay, or as caregivers. Traditionally, the term comes from a Latin verb parere, that is to bring forward, develop or to educate. Okay? And it's concerned with the process or the activity of developing and educating the child than with the person who does it. So here, again, you don't have to be the biological parent or the mother or the father. Parenting in that sense refers more to the activity and the process of bringing up a child and looking out for them. Right? So to parent is a verb primarily, which denotes the positive activities taken by parental figures towards children. The noun parent usually implies a natural and biological parent or maybe an adoptive parent, but it may be not limited to that. So on the whole, it refers to a role that is performed by a person or people, a couple, that possess the parental status to provide for their child in order to suitably and positively enhance development in every aspect of their life. What's important to look at is here that nobody is born a parent. We learn to be. It's learned both through information and experience and practice. So it's both a biological and social process. For biological parents, when a child comes into the world, then there are certain instincts that also get activated, right? Both mothers and fathers in their own way become attuned towards the needs of their child. And at the same time, as you go forward, it's a social process because it involves thinking and learning practices, acquiring knowledge and skills to be able to do the best that you can for your child. It is also reciprocal, bidirectional. Just as you extend your care and love or maybe information to educate your child, the child also shapes the way you respond to them. So that's a very important aspect to remember in parenting. It is not one directional, and often, as parents, we may fall into that trap that it's either entirely our responsibility and we have to do everything right, and or if something is not going right, then it's entirely our fault, or maybe end up blaming the child because we feel frustrated or we feel helpless. So it's reciprocal. It shapes the child's attitude, behaviors, values, and even emotional functioning. While it may be challenging, it's important to remember that it's also extremely rewarding. That's why many of us make the choice to have children. Some of the rewards are that when you have children, you always have a youthful perspective. You're always in touch with childhood, the childlike aspects of life, fun, learning. it's emotionally fulfilling, you continue the family, the legacy. It is also an opportunity for great personal growth. You learn and discover a lot of things about yourself as adults, right, when you take on that role. And of course, there's a great sense of pride when you see your children evolving and blooming into well-functioning adults. So some of the tasks that are involved in parenting are sharing your learnings, customs, traditions, fostering some skills for their survival, promoting interpersonal and communication skills, helping the children learn to regulate and take care of themselves, be productive, and eventually reach and fulfill their potential. So, as you can imagine, that it's a process that goes on through the life cycle of the child, and there are different life stages at which this role evolves also for the parents. So, to put it in a nutshell, the main tasks involve nurturing the child, providing love, care, affection, attunement, protecting, ensuring their safety, right? Teaching them, educating them, sensitizing them, either by providing information, discussing, helping them understand things, or even imparting values that you think are important for them to imbibe, and guiding them perhaps in making the best optimized decisions for themselves in life. Okay. I'm going to quickly go through how this perhaps evolves. It doesn't mean that the tasks that you take on as a parent during early childhood, they end or they don't apply in later life for a child. You, for instance, when you're nurturing your little one, you still provide that nurturance maybe to your adolescent or even a young adult, but maybe the form in which you extend it, the way in which you are there for them, that changes, that evolves. So in early childhood, protection is very important because the child literally needs your physical protection. A safe environment is important, and there are opportunities by experience for you to let the child know that it's important to do self-preservation and how they can do that. Teaching structure and discipline so that gives them a framework for living their life. Imparting some values, some basic values and positive behavior, teaching skills and imparting responsibility, whatever they can manage to do on their own as a young child, okay, in terms of at least taking care of their own activities and what they have to do for themselves, care for themselves. Communication and sharing emotions, bonding and connecting with them, while also providing them the space to express themselves freely. And as you go on, for older children, you also begin to cultivate a sense of independence, autonomy and responsibility while remaining connected. Continue to provide love and support unconditionally. This is the time when children develop a sense of identity and their sense of self. So helping them make sense of that, making sense of their emotions without judging them or evaluating them. And also learning to develop perhaps a collaborative relationship while using it as an opportunity to impart them the life skills that will help them further in life. And this continues, but perhaps in a more subtle way through young adulthood, where you are there to provide emotional support to them. But you're kind of playing a cheerleader's role, you're not hand-holding them. Okay, here I'm going to stop. I was hoping that there would be enough time for us to, perhaps for you to go through a little questionnaire that's on your table. But I'm not sure how many of you have been able to answer that and maybe get a little score for yourself. But if not, that's okay. It's something for you to take back also and look into later. But I think all of you might have a little, whoever is a parent or is in a family setup where you've observed parents, or even people who have parents may have some view or theory about, okay, my parents are like this, they have this kind of approach, or I as a parent, or even if you're a grandparent now, with children who've grown up but also have grandchildren, all of you might be able to have some personal theory of, okay, I think this works, this has worked for us, or this has been our approach, okay? So I want to go through two scenarios here and just stimulate your ideas and thoughts about what you think, how you think you would respond in these scenarios. We're not going to have a discussion here about it. It's just to stimulate ideas, and so you don't have to feel pressured to share, okay, I'm going to do this. There's no right or wrong answer over here because we've not gotten into other aspects of the talk yet. But this is just to create sort of a reference point for you to then maybe compare and contrast with things that we're going to talk about in the later part of the talk. Okay, so this is the first scenario. Your adolescent teenage son has brought home a very bad report this semester. He said he couldn't study properly before the exam, and you've been noting the increasing time he has been spending playing online games as he enjoys them a lot. So I just want you to spend 2 minutes perhaps just noting down or just noting in your mind how you would respond to a situation like this. If you are not directly dealing with a situation like this and someone came to you for advice, your adult son or daughter taking care of their children, so as a grandparent, what would you advise them? Or it could even be a friend or another family member. You're not directly, this doesn't directly apply to you. So just 1 minute, just note down 1 or 2 points, and then I'm going to move to the second scenario. Okay, have you been able to put down some thoughts? Okay, so this is another scenario, slightly different. Okay, your 10-year-old daughter has been spending a lot of time lately in her room as compared to earlier. She says she has made some new friends online. But when asked, she is not very forthcoming with sharing more details about them. She also appears more tense and irritable these days as compared to her earlier cheerful self. Okay, so you're concerned about this. This is definitely a deviation from how she is usually, and you don't know what's going on, and of course you are concerned about finding out. How would you respond to this situation? What would you like to do? What do you think will help? Again, you can think about this from any position that you find yourself in. Whether you're advising somebody or you're directly in this position where you have to advise your child or respond to or manage this situation. So just to stimulate a few thoughts, broadly speaking, some of us might go into problem solving mode or getting more information, or if we feel that this is really a situation of great concern, we might jump into trying to fix it, or maybe trying to suggest or advise a young one. Okay, maybe some parents feel that they're really concerned and they feel that the child is in a lot of trouble and perhaps must be extremely distressed or helpless, and so they might respond to the distress or emotion that they think that the child might be going through. A proportion of parents might also have this approach where they say, okay, I think I'll let my child figure this out. Okay, maybe not entirely, but I'll let them come to me. Alright, let's see what they do, or maybe not do anything actively until something really comes to the forefront, okay, in terms of crisis or a problem. Could be any of these things. I'm not saying what should or should not be done, what's right or wrong, but this is a good segue into what I want to talk about in terms of different approaches or styles that parents might have, okay. And again, it's not in an absolute sense. Each of these approaches might have their merits and demerits. So I want you to kind of reflect on your own about this. Okay. So broadly speaking, in fact, psychological literature, parenting styles have been categorized into these 4 main styles. Okay. There may be other models to characterize parenting approaches also, but this is the most studied and probably the oldest and based on a lot of research. And this was given by Baumrind initially. So let's start from the authoritarian style. So parents who have a primarily authoritarian kind of style might place a lot of premium on having rules and structure and doing things as they are supposed to be done. Now I want to bring your attention to 2 dimensions that are there over here that distinguish each of these styles. Okay, one is the extent to which parents are responsive to their child's need and extend warmth to them. So that's a sort of emotional attunement dimension. Okay, and the other is demandingness or the extent of control or discipline that they place premium on, which is more of a behavioral dimension. What do they do about things? What do they expect? How much focus is there on handling things? Okay, and as you would agree, both of these things are important, right? Both emotional attunement with their child, as well as we have to get certain things done, maybe guide them and give them advice. Some things have to be problem solved also, but there needs to be a balance. So authoritarian parents fall more in the direction of perhaps greater control and task focus and relatively lesser responsiveness or warmth. Okay, so so considering that's the case, they can have high expectations, they can be a bit strict and inflexible because holding up a structure is more important to them than tuning to how the child is feeling about it or their catering to their emotional need. Okay. Now look at the section which is diagonally opposite to that, which is permissive. Okay. That's the exact opposite of it, where parents are high on responsiveness and warmth but low on control. Okay, which means there will be relatively fewer rules, or it's more inconsistent boundaries. The parent is more like a friend. They don't like to have confrontations, so they might have a little bit of challenge with problem-solving situations where that is required. As a parent, you have more experience, you can bring some directions into how we need to deal with this situation, which the child won't know. So that's also important. And in the 4th quadrant, you have more of relatively uninvolved parenting, where maybe the parents believe that the children have the capabilities already. It happens a lot with children who are very perhaps intelligent. The parents often make the mistake of thinking he knows his way, she knows her way, and they will take care of things. They already know what has to be done, or because they may not have approached the parents ever for any kind of problem solving. Most of the things they're able to take care of themselves. But what might happen here is that then there is low warmth and responsiveness, and also a low level of control. Okay, so it's more like the child might experience it as a bit of directionlessness, which is also not very helpful, which is not healthy. At different points in time, children do need a little bit of nudging and structure and direction from the parents. Okay, and then we have authoritative parenting, which is where the parents are high on responsiveness as well as relatively high on certain aspects of control. Okay, so here there is more of a balance in terms of problem solving as well as attuning to the child emotionally. The parents are affectionate but also have clear standards. They have open communication but also have certain boundaries and have set clear expectations. Some things are non-negotiable, but some things are open to discussion and reviewing. Okay. So needless to say, this is an approach that we are all trying to get to, but it's difficult to find a balance and there can be challenges a lot of times. Alright. Okay. Now let's get to how parenting has evolved over the ages. I mean, I wouldn't say that parenting has changed, but the way one has had to approach it because the world is changing, that is definitely something that we need to pay attention to. So whether we like it or not, there have been changes in the way the world functions, the landscape of families has changed. We've moved more from bigger families to smaller families, from families having different kinds of structures, maybe even single parenting, or even when families are together, they may be in different places for reasons of work or maybe there may be parents or caregivers may need to travel. So it affects the time that you spend with each other. It affects how roles and responsibilities are divided. Who takes forward, things to be done. Who takes care of the emotional needs of the children. So that, coupled with the modernization that has happened over the years, over the decades, has led to massive changes in routine. It has affected the quality time that perhaps used to be there earlier. I wouldn't say that that was a norm earlier, that everybody used to spend quality time. There were other challenges perhaps earlier. But the many things that vie for our attention in this day and age of technology certainly make it more challenging to pay attention to each other and choose to be with each other and make time with each other, or to even utilize that time in a way that is fruitful. Right? So the rise and evolution of technology, whether we like it or not, has become an integral part of our lives. It also gives us certain opportunities to learn, to communicate in different ways, stay in touch, to bond, to connect. But it has also led to a certain kind of automation of one's lives. We are doing more things because technology helps us with that, and as a result end up having less time for ourselves and our loved ones. And I'm sure that children are also experiencing this, parents are experiencing this in families. For parents, as a result of the advance in technology, a lot of information is available, and along with information, a lot of opinions and beliefs about how what is good parenting, what the approach should be. People are constantly comparing and contrasting and opining about what a certain person is, how a certain person is bringing up their child, how I am doing that, and what is better. Here I want to talk about a concept of good fit. So, these are all very absolute questions. What is good parenting? Who's a good parent? What is a good parenting approach? And I want to point out that since we also said that parenting is reciprocal, so it's not really a question about whether you're following the right approach or wrong approach. It is whether the approach is a good fit for your child's needs, right? Because your child also has a, let's say, personality of their own. Okay, they have a temperament of their own. Each child is different, and the best approach is the approach where you're able to attune to that, gauge that, and attune to that, and show up in as consistent a way as you can. You don't have to be perfect, because there are limitations. Everybody has limitations, but as good a fit as you can. Okay. So that's how it is. The experience has been changing. Parents, for children, what is it like? They've also been bombarded with several options, a lot of information, whether it's in terms of technology or even activities available to them, things to do. And as parents who grew up in a different world, in a different generation, it confuses us also a lot, because there are many things we don't understand. We don't understand how children can interact with technology as if it were an extension of them. We have had to make it a part of our lives, and it is still very utilitarian and functional for us, perhaps, our generation. So, what do you understand about technology? How do you view it as part of your life? That's important to update yourself on. What choices accordingly should you make for your child? How can you encourage safe and appropriate use of technology by your child? This also brings up the question about how technology influences children and the content they're exposed to, how it has an impact on them. While it gives them a lot to learn from, there are also certain safety concerns, perhaps. As parents, we are often worrying about how we regulate what the children are exposed to, how do we protect them from exposure to unhealthy things, not just in the online world, but of course in the physical world also. Okay, so for children, what is it like growing up in a digital world? Okay, they are exposed to a variety of information and content on various platforms, whether it is YouTube or social media platforms or content sharing platforms. They are connecting with each other like never before, perhaps even before a full-fledged friendship has developed. You already know many aspects about each other through content you've shared or activities you've done online together. The easy access to information and content through gadgets is something that has grown manyfold. Literature also shows that the main use of internet that young people do is for social networking, primarily. They do other things also, put content, develop content, watch content, etc. But a lot of it is for social networking. So you can imagine what purpose what need it's serving for young people also. It's a predominant tool nowadays for them to connect with each other, right? And it comes very naturally to them. And this is important for parents to understand, because maybe from a different generation, that was not the primary mode of being in contact with each other and bonding with each other and sharing with each other. But children may have a lack of experience in discerning what's helpful and useful from what is negative and harmful, and that's where parents need to come in. Balancing time online with with experiences in the physical world. That there's a lot you can learn online, but it's important to also be in the real world, physical world, where you test out some of that knowledge. The definition of socialization and friendships is changing, which I've already touched upon, and how to explore and have new experiences while being safe. Right? That's a major challenge. Okay, so here we're going to stop again for a moment for a little experience. Okay, why? Because again, lot of information, but we are so busy consuming information and gathering information that often we stop to be mindful about it, to reflect about it, to give ourselves time to digest it and see what's useful, what's not useful, what's harmful, etc. This is especially for parents or caregivers who might identify their parenting approach being more inclined towards, let's say, a more authoritarian style. Again, if you remember, I said that we're more focused on getting things done, right? So I think for parents who value that kind of an approach more and might get stuck in that, it's important to learn to be with oneself. You can then teach children also to learn to value experience and stay with the experience and not be scared of experience. And also, that's a way to help them learn to process that experience, right? There are other things you have to take care of, but we just take 2 minutes out. And even if there are thoughts that come, let them come. Don't judge yourself for having thoughts. It's okay. It is just to be able to have a little bit of taste of that experience of being with oneself. Okay. So again, you can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever is comfortable with you, and follow the sound of my voice. Okay. So we start by settling into a comfortable position, keeping your eyes open or closed, whatever you are okay with. And we start by taking a few slow, deep breaths, breathing in fully and exhaling fully. Breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose or the mouth. Just allow your breath to find its own natural rhythm, bringing your attention fully to noticing each in-breath as it enters through the nostrils, travels down the lungs, and causes the belly to expand. And then notice each out-breath as the belly contracts and the air moves up through the lungs, back through the nostrils or the mouth. Just invite your full attention to flow along with your breath. And just notice how the inhale is different from the exhale. You may experience the air as cool as it enters through the nose and warm as you exhale out. And as you turn more deeply inward, just begin to let go of the noises, any sounds around you, or just simply notice them, and then bring your attention back to the breath. Just simply breathing naturally, not trying to change anything about your breath, or trying to control it in any way. Just observing the breath in this moment without judgment, and being aware of each inhale and exhale. And if your mind wanders to thoughts, plans or problems, just simply notice the mind drifting away. Watch the thought as it enters your awareness as neutrally as possible, like a spectator. And then practice letting go of the thought as if it were a leaf floating down a stream, just on the surface of the water. In your mind, place each thought that comes up on a leaf and watch as it floats out of sight down the stream. Then bring your attention back to your breath. Just notice when your mind has wandered the types of thoughts that hook or distract you. Watch the gentle rise of the stomach on the in-breath and the relaxing letting go on the out-breath. You may even be distracted by some discomfort in the body, maybe some itching, some twitching sensations that draw your attention away from your breath. You may notice feelings arising, perhaps sadness, frustration, happiness, anxiety. So just notice whatever comes up, including any thoughts or stories about the experience, without judging, or pushing it away, or clinging to it, or wishing it were different. And guide your attention back to your breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Mindfully be present moment by moment with your breath. And if your mind drifts away, just notice without judging, be it a thought or a feeling or a sensation that hooks your attention. Gently guide your awareness back to your breathing. And as this exercise comes to an end, slowly allow your attention to expand and notice your entire body being present in the room that you are in. And whenever you feel ready, you can slowly open your eyes and come back to the present moment. Alright. So everyone is back in the room? Okay. Okay. I'm going to ask about your experience of this mindfulness exercise at the end, because again, then we're going to start talking about that. So please hold on to your thoughts, maybe make a note, write down a piece of paper what it was like for you. Okay, especially what was the part that was really comforting, if any. What was the part that was really difficult and that you found yourself struggling with? Okay. So can I give you maybe 30 seconds to just make a note of these two things? Alright, let's move on and look at some of the particular challenges that parents might encounter in a technology-driven world. And I've also listed, some of the benefits that being in a world of technology brings to us. So I'm just going to put them all together in this one slide. Okay. I've touched upon it even earlier. Some of the challenges, as you would all know, is a tendency to have spend a lot of time on the screen. It leads to exclusion of other activities. But at the same time, when you're online, you have opportunities to learn. There are several resources. As a psychologist, I would like to draw your attention to certain effects on the mental health and mood, for instance, and behavioral challenges that might develop when too much of time online starts to happen. And this also leads to social isolation, and that is again not healthy. There are safety risks such as harassment, becoming victims to predatory behavior online, and cyberbullying, which we all need to take note of. And moreover, we need to be mindful of the impact of the content and whatever else young people are exposed to when they are online. That can often have an impact on things that they imbibe, how they learn to express their emotions, what they discern as helpful or not helpful, certain behavioral patterns that they might pick up, even though not directly, but indirectly. Okay. So those being the challenges, some of the opportunities that are there online is that we can do a lot of teaching and learning, impart a lot of skills if we use this platform in an optimized and effective way. If parents also understand how to use this medium and befriend the virtual world, then as a family it can bring us together, because there can be a lot of leisure, entertainment, quality time that technology can be used to optimize. Okay, so let's look at, I've highlighted one or two challenges in particular because though there are other things also that are important, but specifically you may have heard a lot about getting addicted to being online, and bullying as major problems, or safety online as one of the predominant problems. So some of the red flags or things that you can look out for in your young one, which can tell you that okay, we need to pay attention to this. Maybe they are getting dependent on too much time online. Are some of these signs? There is a preoccupation with being online, being secretive about time they are spending online, disregarding time limits with internet usage. They may show diminished interest in activities that earlier used to be pleasurable, and these I mean offline activities especially. Withdrawing from friends and family as compared to earlier. Psychological withdrawal. This is in relation to young people who do a lot of online gaming, right? So missing or feeling almost withdrawal symptoms from the game when they stop playing or when the internet is offline. They can experience a lot of restlessness and distress, maybe not able to concentrate or enjoy other activities or be irritable. So there are implications on the mood. Using gaming or watching videos as an escape from other mood challenges that they're already experiencing, a way to fill a void, continuing to game or be online despite knowing the negative consequences to their physical and mental health, or in their activities or at school. And then, of course, maybe in more severe cases, engaging in certain harmful or illegal activities themselves. Okay. Some signs to watch out for that tell you that a child may be at the receiving end of bullying online. You might see signs where they are upset after using internet, or maybe receiving a text message. They again are secretive about their digital life. They become withdrawn. They stop participating in group activities. They may avoid school or group events. You might see a decline in academic performance or other things they're doing. There may be drastic changes in mood, sleep, or appetite patterns. They want to stop using the phone or computer. There's aversion to that. They become nervous when they receive information. So some of these signs are red flags to look out for, where it might indicate that the child is experiencing some trouble online and needs guidance and needs help. Okay. So what do we do? And I don't want to sort of paint a picture that this is it and we are doomed, and what do we do when the children are in great trouble and we are helpless. So I wanted to kind of end it with again reframing it to what opportunities these challenges present in front of us, and how we can sort of translate into improving our relationship and strengthening our relationship with our children. Okay, so if there's excessive screen time and exclusion of other activities, it is an opportunity to encourage and build and develop as a family alternate interests and social activities, especially offline activities, sports, creative hobbies, whatever the family likes doing together, and also encourage them to have their own set of activities with their friends, peers. Everything doesn't have to be done as a family. They need to have their own time with their friends, but introducing them to some of those activities, unless the child gets a taste of that experience and maybe enough taste of that experience, they will not catch on to it, or it's unlikely that they will engage. So it's almost like if I'm asking you to try a new dish, maybe a new flavor of ice cream, and I describe it in a very flamboyant, flowery way to you, it sounds very interesting. I'm going to consider it, but I might not really be motivated to try it out unless I had a little taste of it and kind of liked it, and then I'm curious to try it again. So maybe in small doses within a family setup, or together, instead of just telling them go out and play with your friends or go for cricket or do something outdoors, creating opportunities to introduce them to that experience and get them a little taste of it, and then they become curious about it. Right? Okay. If you notice some changes in the mood, or some changes in behavioral patterns which are different from before, I think it also helps for adults in the family, older adults in the family, to model some healthy behaviors, self-regulation behaviors, model off-screen and internet time by considering unplugging as a family from the screens periodically after a certain day, hour in the day, or especially at certain times like meal times, where everybody is going to keep away from phones or gadgets. And this may be a little challenging to bring back, I would say, because now it's pretty much everybody has their phone on the dinner table also. But it has to start from the older adults in the family, and till it becomes a normal thing. That okay, dinner time, meal times, maybe certain other activities or days in the week, we spend time with each other, and being with each other means being really present there, right? We're not distracted by anything else. Model self-care and how to manage one's emotions effectively. Okay? So that is a huge resource that you're extending to young people. They will learn by seeing how you respond to situations which are distressing. If you lose your cool and calm, everybody can be anxious, that's not a crime, but how you manage it in front of your child, what they see you doing, whether you lose control of your emotions and maybe blame somebody else, or shout or scream or tear something or throw something, or you just don't talk about it and then it become irritable or snap at somebody, versus maybe you process it, you inform everybody that you need a little time, and then we'll talk because I'm not feeling quite well, or I'm not feeling good, acknowledging, labeling the emotion, so then children also know that it's normal to be anxious, it's normal to be sad, feel sad sometimes, it's normal to be frustrated even, it's normal to feel tired, right? And all this we will see by, learn by observing you and how you deal with your own emotions. So learning to demonstrate that. Also, in certain cases, check for signs of anxiety and depressed mood, and if you feel more help is needed, encourage the child and put them in touch with professionals who can evaluate further and address it in a more systematic manner. Be open to that. It's better to find out and be clear about what's going on early on rather than intervening once things get to a crisis. Alright. Okay, if you see a decline in academic performance, so maybe some limit setting may be needed. Okay, here's where you put a little structure into place. Monitor the screen use time, set clear limits regarding the time online, but in a firm but in a respectful way. Encourage them to complete their school work first, schedule time online only after the work is completed. But if you schedule some other things after the work is completed, follow through with your promise. Don't promise things that you cannot do, because then it's not going to work after a while. Use online resources, so make learning and studying fun. Technology can be used, different resources online can be used to make the process of learning fun. There's a certain way that schools are supposed to do the teaching. Sometimes they're caught up in a certain structure, but for the child's learning you can incorporate other methods when they're doing it by themselves back at home, and as a parent you can encourage and introduce some of those resources, right? Whether they're videos or maybe looking at certain interactive things, but again with younger children who don't have experience of using it, under supervision, right? So get involved in their process of learning initially. Yeah. Okay, if you find your child is isolating socially, again create quality family time, time for outdoor activities, set rules for all the members as to when and how long they have access to gadgets, so that everybody is following the same thing and young person is not feeling singled out. Alright, what do we do to ensure safety online? It's very important. You cannot 100% protect your children from everything, but you can, the one way to ensure safety for them is to at least keep the communication channels open, so that you know what's going on with your child and they feel open and they feel comfortable to come and share with you if ever they are not able to make sense of something or something is challenging for them or distressing for them, right? Because they know that they will not be judged, they will not be evaluated or scolded. There may be some limit setting you might have to do with certain things, but again, if it is respectfully done without being judgmental or blaming, then children will seek you out, and that's a better approach to take than being close to them or again being judgmental. It's very important to educate them. So if the communication is open, you have an opportunity to tell them that everything and everybody they meet online is not is not safe or cannot be trusted, and so these are the things they need to look out for also. Pay attention to those red flags, and also what they can do to take care of themselves when the parents are not around, right? So let them know that self-protection is most important over and above even connecting with people sometimes, because you don't know whether it's safe to interact with certain people because you don't know their identity. And let them know that if you need to step in, that you will not hesitate to do that, to protect them or take whatever action you need to take. So they know that, okay, it's not all on them to manage and take care of themselves at the right time, or there are certain things at a certain point that you as a parent will step in to manage, because it's your responsibility as a parent. Okay. If children are learning certain behavioral patterns which you find are not healthy, like you might see children picking up a lot of aggression, or that it's okay to express yourself in certain ways. When you're angry, it's okay to throw something or to use certain words. They don't directly pick it up, but basically certain things become normalized, which is not healthy, right? So if that's happening, again, just telling them don't do this or this is not okay, or stopping them from watching certain content, you can certainly monitor and limit. But for older children, even for younger children, the better approach is to help them learn to discern for themselves, watch the content together, or encourage discussion later if you're not there. So you have a chance to put what they have seen, what they've watched, into the correct perspective. Right? That is a movie and that's a particular character being shown, let's say, or more in terms of the effects of certain things that they have seen people do, and then decide for themselves what is the best response in a particular situation. Okay. This is the most important part, I think, which we often don't touch upon because the whole focus again is on children, and a lot of parents also need to care for themselves, right? Because it's a difficult job, but even though it's rewarding. So this is a part we cannot forget, and we need to take out time every now and then to also pay attention to our well-being. Okay, so it's important to make sure that you're okay, so that your kids are okay. All right, and I know that you may already know a lot of things. Maybe some of you are already doing a lot of things to look out for yourselves. But these are just some tips that I thought I'd put out. Take care of your physical and mental health needs, which means you need to be in touch with yourself. You need to be able to identify when certain things are not going okay, right? Emotionally, physically. Learn to identify the signs that you need attention. Incorporate self-care activities. We did a little mindfulness exercise right now, but physical exercise, I cannot emphasize enough, is very important in whatever form, in whatever manner, whatever works for you. Okay, because again, it helps to integrate everything together and has a huge impact on the mental health as well. Make time to share experiences with other families, other parents, so you know you're not alone, and you also learn from each other, right? But sometimes we can get caught up in our own islands and in what we have learned or read, and what we think and what our parenting beliefs are, right? But talking to other people helps us discern, sometimes even learn, expand our framework, and a lot of those things are very helpful. Okay? So be open to that exchange, share, and of course there is support that you get, right? You are able to accomplish some more challenging things if you know that, okay, I can consult with somebody about it. A friend of mine is also grappling with the same problem, or this is how their experience has been, etc., and that you're not alone. And most importantly, don't stop living your own life. Make time for some fun, and make time an opportunity for you to grow personally, right? Having a child doesn't mean that your life is over, or that you cannot grow or even have fun. Have fun with them, have fun in your own ways, pick up hobbies, or hold on to hobbies and leisure activities like you did before your child came into your life, right? So that's very important, because again, if you're okay, And if you are happy, then your child is happy, they're okay. Right? So this is where I end my presentation, my talk. We'll keep a little time for questions now. I presume that many of you would have been holding on to certain questions or comments or remarks, so I'm happy to hear from you now.